All right, everybody. Happy Friday to you. You know, it's October 13th. I hope that you guys aren't out there getting yourselves in any trouble. And if you are, hopefully it's good trouble, but you gotta stay safe out there today. There's a lot of things that do happen on October 13th, and I'm not a suspicious person. But without further ado, welcome to another episode of Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. And this episode today, man, like I said, we always bring in some amazing guests, and today's no different. We got my friend, we got Pratibha Dey, and she's here to talk about let's see, we're going to talk about how we can't measure pain when it comes to the loss of a child, and also we're going to touch on suicide prevention. And so without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to my guest and Pratibha.
Yay, thanks. Hi, Tony.
Hello, how are we doing today? Yeah,
Doing
great
pretty
to have you
great.
on. Yeah, great to have
Hey.
you on. Great to see your face today. And before we get started, let the audience know where you're from.
Okay, I'm from Jersey, originally from New Delhi, India. Migrated to the States in 1999.
Awesome. You loving it over here so far?
No.
That wasn't the answer I needed to hear, but
I love international travel more, but
okay.
ideally, I feel like half the time in the year in the States and half elsewhere will be very ideal. Yeah.
Okay. And before we get into the conversation, tell the audience a little bit about yourself. Yeah,
Sure.
I got your profile up and everything, so yeah,
It's
just let the
cool.
audience know.
Yeah, so my name's Pratibha Dey, and I'm 30 years young. None of this matters. But point being, I started my journey in mental health and healing space 4 years ago in 2020 through adversity and the lowest point of my life. And I started my own community because I felt alone in life and I couldn't burden the weight of my pain and the pain that was professional and personally related. I was only 27 years young at the time when I started my community Chai Together. And originally it started as a group and just a YouTube channel. No content was on it. I'd never made a video in my life, never spoke in public like I am today, to this extent on camera. So I started the community because I didn't want other people to feel alone in life. I wanted people to have a space they could call home because I never felt I had a home coming from a dysfunctional family. And I had to create a life for myself that had stability and sanity. So that's how it all started. I worked
Yeah.
with some great people, and today I'm a healer, and today I'm a coach, and today I'm a leader. So here I am.
And it's an honor to have you up here. So, first and foremost, I want to say thank you for being on, and thank you for your time today. And let's dive into it. When you came with the topic, I thought about it and everything because we do share a common
Mhm.
loss, right? And
Yeah.
and not being able to measure that pain.
Mhm.
I thought really deep about that because you know what, it's absolutely right, right? You can't measure the pain when it comes down to child loss.
Mhm.
Now, share your experience on that, and we'll talk about the different sorts of pain and how we measure them, and why child loss is so difficult to measure. And we'll
Mhm.
dive into that. Go ahead.
I think this is really interesting, and I don't think I've ever talked about it like as a topic,
Mhm.
as I am with you, because usually, when I share my story or was sharing my story since 2020 until I think a year ago, and I stopped because you don't want to keep it fresh because it's not your story anymore. It's just a chapter that was, part of your life, for me at
Mhm.
least. Um, And it's not something that I wanted to relive over and over again. So I stopped talking about it in the sense of details because it can be more harmful than helpful. So, yeah, my experience was an experience of abortion, and being South Asian and coming from an Indian household. That's something that's supposed to be shameful and of embarrassing nature, and especially not being married and having that experience. But what really leads to that, for me, the leading point to come to have an abortion was domestic violence, being involved in a domestic violence relationship. with someone who I do deem to be possibly a narcissist or maybe even something worse. And this isn't for me to label somebody, I'm not a clinician to diagnose the individual, but having worked in the domestic violence space after experiencing the life experience that I did have, one of my coworkers, who was a good friend of mine, even said that the person that I was with may have even been a sociopath. And these are really heavy words, especially for people who may not be familiar with this space and mental health field, and it's very vast as well.
Mhm.
But the truth of the matter is, we only make meaning to the extent that we know, like from our knowledge and the specialists and professionals that we know of. So, yeah, really coming to the place of, I had my abortion. I made that decision solely on my own. It was not influenced by others at the time. And I made this decision because I didn't have the financial means, coming out of a violent relationship. I didn't have anywhere to go. That was a permanent foundation for me, such as a home. So I was homeless and pregnant um, before, during, and after you know um I had my abortion. And then so that really was my rise and fall. It was what rebirthed me as a woman, and I feel like that's really how I came into my wholeness as a woman. Actually,
Mhm.
once a woman's body and her soul goes through something that profound, she knows who she is. I feel that's one way someone can come into that is like the emotional impact Bob Proctor talks about. If you know of Bob Proctor, he
I
was a
do.
leader in, yeah, self-development. So Bob Proctor shared with us, an emotional impact that changes your life, like a 9/11. And for me, that was my 9/11. That was my emotional turmoil, my distress, and my negative event that happened in life. So it's either two ways that can change you. And I needed change desperately. I didn't know how that was going to come. And I used to pray to God to make me the woman I need to be, for my future partner at the time, and for me to heal from my trauma. And how do I get out of this trauma so I don't attract such relationships again and again? And that was my 9/11. So when you ask God for something, and I'm not religious, but I believe in higher power,
Mhm.
I'm spiritual, and I asked for something, but I didn't know if it would come through something bad. And really, trauma gives us purpose in life, and that's what happened for me. So when I went through that loss, I didn't actually have 100% of great friendships in the healing process to where I was um, super comforted. I feel like it made me very restless to succeed. And I honestly became my own backbone because I had nowhere to go but
Yeah.
face myself and my responsibility for my life.
No, I definitely man. That's amazing. Because a lot of people don't come back. Or
Yeah.
they have a hard time. I know I did, right?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, child loss is child loss. I don't take anything away from anyone. It's a pain I've never experienced before. And like I
Mhm.
said, I thought very deeply on how not being able to measure that, right?
Yeah.
And I have things I can compare it to. Loss of parents,
Mhm.
loss of sibling, loss of friends, a lot of friends, seeing people die.
Mhm.
Um, and you're absolutely right. There's levels, right? There's definitely levels to it. And ever since I was young, seeing people commit suicide,
Mhm.
it was the way I was able to process it and the
Mhm.
culture and the environment that I was in. You know, when I was younger, I watched a couple of people commit suicide, and my
Mm.
reaction was, somebody got to go tell people what just happened. So I took the guns and I went and told people, yeah, man,
Wow.
such and such, they're gone. And then I was able to just move on. There was no emotional attachment to it.
Hmm.
My grandmother passed away. I think that was the first time I felt um, that emotion, that overwhelming emotion of sadness and deep,
Mm.
heavy heartache. But then, I remember the words that my grandmother told me, baby boy, I'm just going to another place. I'll see you when you get there. So I took that and I was like, okay, and then the emotions was gone. The memory was there, and some of the sadness was, and it's still there, but it was like, okay, you kind of accept it and you move on because it's like a natural order of things. I'm the grandson,
Mhm.
this grandmother, right? She's up in age. We know that she's going to pass away before me.
Mhm.
Parents, same thing. Father passed away. I said, okay, that's gone. I got my younger brother. He's still going to come up behind me and carry on our family name until he passed away. My reality changed, because of the relationship I had with him. That was a little bit more drawn out.
Mhm.
And the level of pain um, was deep. And I say that to say the next thing,
Mhm.
it was deep, but this is after countless of people that have passed away, friends, things that I've carried, um, and so there was something that was in me, and it was like, hey, you got to keep moving. You don't have time to let the emotional aspect drag you down. You know what I'm saying? You got to remember where you were at. Emotions are going to get you killed. Don't let nobody see what's going on with you. You
Hmm.
know. Now, fast forward 8 years later, my son passes away. That right there, that was a pain that I wouldn't wish on no one.
Mhm.
And it's so deep, hasn't gone anywhere. It's still there, right? You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? It's not as prominent as it was, but there's times where it is. Then my mother, there's the relationship right there. Son, mother, right behind one another. The relationship I have with my mother, you have to understand, to avoid his mother is his first love.
Mhm.
She nurtures him, she raises him, she teaches him, right? She's his everything.
Mhm.
She teaches us how to be a respectful man.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? She teaches us by her actions, you know what I'm saying, what to look for in a woman. Not that we looking for a mother, but we looking for someone who's going to carry on those traditions, you know what I'm saying, and nurture us like mom did for the most part, right? But not, like big difference though. Uh, and honestly, measuring that one, it broke me. But I was able to go back to the pain of my son,
Mhm.
and I was able to measure the loss of my parents and everything else to that, and it never compared to it. So I was able to just turn off my emotions and go, I have to keep moving.
Mhm.
I have to keep moving, right? And now, we're going to talk about a little bit about the mental health aspect of it. I mean,
Mhm.
when we say we can't measure the pain
Mhm.
into the mental health aspect, what do Pratibha was going through mentally to get you passionate about being in the mental health field and helping
Mhm.
women, right? What kind of took you down that direction, the thought pattern?
Well, the first thing I said to myself, well, thank you for sharing all of that. The first thing I told myself is that I'm going to become successful in life because I didn't want my kids' death. They were twins to go in vain. And that was my thought process. I never felt sorry for myself, not even for a moment. Like you said, I feel keeping busy during a time like that is how I propelled forth. And that happened for months. I feel like for at least half a year, I was just go, go, go.
Hmm.
And I finished school, graduated with my degree. Chai Together was taking off. I was recording a lot. I was doing a lot. I was speaking. And even though I was not as healed during that time to speak about it more so with love and grace, such as I am now, and more so of anxiety, I was still able to tell my story. The fact that I had the courage, and that's what Chai stands for, courage, hope, and inspiration, the acronym Chai Together. The fact that I embodied that, there was no fear in me because when you experience as a woman a loss like that, you don't have any fear because as a woman, you feel as if nothing worse can happen to you but the loss of children. For a woman, that's a big thing. Women and men are two different creatures. So at
Yes,
that
sir.
time, what really led me to mental health was not just my own story, but my mom's story of my mom having schizophrenia. So not only was I healing my own journey, I also had a mom to take care of who wasn't on any medication and has that diagnosis. And I'm just coming back, from living in another country, sorting myself out. And then eventually I found my way home to my mom for some stability. So that's how my journey really started. And the mental health space for me came about on my own notion, as in my story. Everyone has a mental health, right?
Yeah.
And it's such a trendy word here in the Western world, but in other countries, it's really not a thing. Like when I went to Japan, they don't talk about mental health. Sexual abuse is not even a topic. It's like, oh my gosh, wow, like it's unbelievable. Someone's mentioning that word. And even India. And one of the reason a lot of people are sick is ignorance. And it was my own journey to heal my mom, heal myself. And even though I haven't been able to heal her because it's her own soul journey, I was able to detach and learn detachment through spiritual healing and working with my shaman and all these different therapy modalities I had to do to heal myself. So when you ask like what led me to come into mental health, it was my story, me telling my truth for the first time in life and only being 27 years young at that time and having gone through all of that. And just that's just one portion. Because for someone to even come to um, a standpoint like that, to where they find themselves in such a bad situation, just imagine what my prior life had been like before that. So
Mhm.
all of the traumas that I experienced from a young age, they were only building me up to my resiliency to have the capacity to even deal with something like the loss of kids. If I had just experienced this one thing, it probably would have broke me. But since I had been broken little by little over time, already experienced depression, hardships, and suicide ideations, this was nothing new to me to have something horrible happen. It's like I manifested it because I believe that those are the kind of things that I deserved. So it's my own thinking, believing that this is going to happen, that's going to happen. And it did. So even though I had this delusion, you would say, this false hope and faith, I always kept faith that whatever God's doing, it's for my good. And I thought it was good at the time. The relationship, I thought it's like an international love story, like you see in movies and this fantasy and fairy tale they sell to
Mhm.
women and Disney and all this crap. It's BS. And a lot of the reason, as I was saying, why people are sick is ignorance of education, like ignorance of not having the guidance, not having the mentorship and the right environment to even bring kids into the world. And I am so grateful that I was smart enough to get myself out of that situation. Like, I am so proud of myself and I don't have any regrets about my abortion. And I wouldn't be here speaking to you today. There would be possibly no Chai Together at all. I wouldn't have graduated school. I wouldn't be coaching. I wouldn't have gone to Japan and traveled to other states to speak if my kids were born. And they would probably be on welfare, to be transparent. So from then on, my mental health journey just went to me getting more certifications and more education and working in domestic violence prevention with men who had been in the prison system, low income, whose kids were taken away. So this was a healing process for me. And it was fascinating. It healed my relationship with men as well from my past. So everything God does, I feel like I was called to do. And these were some men who were crying and thanking me and shaking my hand that I helped change their life at 27,
Right.
28 years old. And this is like a 40-year-old man. And that's how I knew that I always knew inside of me, I have a gift and I'm special despite all the traumas, because you always know that you're still living because there's more. And I always knew there was more to my life. So that's really how it came about. I just never gave up. Like suicide or falling into depression was not an option for me. I believe my body was still in shock because I was carrying second trimester. So my body had gone through surgery. So I think it took me about half a year to a year for my body to even understand what's happened to me because I was put under anesthesia. So yeah, it took me 2 years for my body to heal through that experience. So I was still doing Chai Together and doing everything behind the scenes and graduating and taking care of my mom and everything else. Um, my plate was full. That's all I have to say. And I'm
No,
30 today, and I'm only 30 years old, and I just feel like my life's just getting started. Honestly, I
It
really
really
do.
is. It really is. Like, like, and I appreciate that. I definitely
Yeah.
appreciate that. I definitely appreciate you sharing that journey with me. Because like I said, we talked before, right? It's
Yeah.
almost similar, right? You know what I'm saying? If you was to write my story and put it, I'm just a little older, right? That's all. But if you was to put both our stories side by side, you were looking like, okay, which one, and not sign them, not put our names on it, be like, what, what? Narcissistic. You know,
Mhm. Oh,
I've
yeah.
been in an abusive relationship with a narcissist, right? Which
Mhm.
is kind of when you think about it, the stigma is that majority of the time it's the man who's the abuser, right?
Mhm.
And in your case, it is. In my
Mhm.
case, it was the woman,
Mhm.
right? Very, very verbally abusive. Then she became physically abusive.
Mm.
Um, and it was just, oh my God, I tell you what, I've never been beat down like that before. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been in many a fist fights before, many. And I would tell you, I would rather have been in a fist fight than to be in a fight with a narcissist because
Mm.
honestly, where I come from, the word narcissist doesn't exist,
Mhm.
right? You know what I'm saying? We don't know what that looks like.
Mhm.
I come from a culture where people treated people nice, and if you was an asshole, we just stayed away from you.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, you know what I'm saying? If you was an asshole, we was just like, we ain't messing with you, keep it moving, right? But being with a woman, that was like that.
Mm.
I've never been in a situation like that. I've always, before I met her, I always prided myself of not being the one that that had to go through what I saw my friends go through with their relationships, right? And things like that. And I've seen some crazy relationships, and like,
Mhm.
this is the reason why I stay single because I watch y'all.
Right.
Yeah, so it was, I didn't know nothing about mental health.
Mhm.
I didn't know any of that. When I finally separated from her, I told myself I would rather be homeless than
Mm.
to live in the same household with this woman.
Mhm.
That's after she had the baby,
Mhm.
after she had her son. And I did. I left. Look, I had a work van. I was sleeping in my work van right down the street from my job and everything, what I'm saying, just to get out the house with her. Um, and I did that for probably about 3, 4 months. And a friend of mine said, "Hey, come sleep on my floor." He had a hard floor that's made out of concrete. I was like, "Oh yeah, this is a lot better sleeping in the garage,
Yeah.
right?" And then she found out where I was and called the police on me. She stalked me. Then she got me fired from my job. So I was like, "Well, what do I do now, right?" And you know what I ended up having to do? I ended up having to go back to her for a place to stay.
Mm.
Then she helped me get into my apartment, which was down the street from her.
Mhm.
Only so she could come and stalk me more. And I was like, "What did I do to you?" That's
Mm.
what I kept saying. I was like, "No," but
Mhm.
I realized, once I educated myself on what a narcissist was, it helped me learn how to fight without fighting. Right? You know what I'm saying? How do you fight a narcissist? Well, you know what I'm saying? When you understand the characteristics, and it's simple, it's pretty much straightforward across the board with each and every last one of them. And I want to say that she was like what you said before, a sociopath, but I'm not a doctor. I digress.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna try to diagnose anyone, just like you said. I'm not a doctor, but
Mhm.
understanding that was different. That was different, and able to grow from there because when I left her, I had nothing else left in me. This woman stripped me of everything.
Yes.
I didn't want. I didn't even want to be in a relationship no more. Girls was like, "Hey," I was like, "No."
Mm-mm. It was
I
not
was,
the time. I can relate to your fear because, when I came back to this country, I was scared that somehow, you know, the father of my kids would find me and come to the country
mm,
and possibly even kill me or hurt me. I used to have that fear. You understand?
yeah,
So all these things are very real, and it's okay for us to validate our feelings and say, I believe I was with a narcissist because that's your understanding and your um your experience. No one can negate the fact of what your experience was. And yes, doctors, yes, they can clinically diagnose, but they're not meeting that individual. So it's for you to come to your own psychological understanding and make peace with it. And whatever that is for you, it's for you. It's so I don't have the book here, but yesterday I finished reading the book, Viktor Frankl's second book, which is his lectures and letters. Who was a survivor for the concentration camps, and he shared about the meaning of life, and it's for us to determine our meaning of life. And
Yes.
it's no one's responsibility to shame us for our experiences and the fact that we're brave enough to talk about it and voice ourselves. And then if we were to be shunned and quieted, that's not something we're willing to have, because more people need to talk about these experiences, because a lot of people don't live to do so, especially being from my community, being South Asian, and even your community being Black. A lot of people don't come from homes that have the ability to, they say, keep everything in the house.
Right.
Don't they say, even in my household, that I was too honest, or I'm telling people our family business. And that's because it's the thing that frees me. We're supposed to tell our truth in life. You're not supposed to live in a cage or a box. And I've always been the Black sheep in that way. Yeah.
I can definitely understand
Mhm.
being a black sheep, or you know, I guess I never really considered myself the black sheep,
Mhm.
but now I look back on it, I was the loner. I was the one that left home at an early age and been on my own since then. No family, no nothing. Just kind of trying to figure out this world, and stumbled my way into a lot of things. Got drugged through the mud many, many a times.
Yeah.
You know, um, it always felt as if I was fighting a fight that I never knew that I was in.
Mhm.
You know, um, considering the fact I was homeless 17, 18 times. I mean, it's
That's
crazy.
deep. No,
Yeah,
what you said right there, let's just kind of like embrace what you just said and like sit in that, the fact that you didn't know you were fighting a fight that was so deep. Because now that, I don't know for you, but now that I'm on the other side of things, it feels like it's so foreign to me because of all the healing that I have done, like massive
mm,
healing, I'm talking, because I had the privilege to not work, during the pandemic. So I healed every day, read as much possible, did, different things, online retreats. So like all these different things, for my somatic healing, which is within the body, because the trauma is trapped, in our nervous system. So I feel like now when you were saying this, it's like I would actually have to think about who I was and how I was, because that's how far I've come.
right.
Because I'm a whole different person. I'm happy and I'm healed. And I was never happy before. Like, it was a false sense of happiness for social media when I was younger. Nobody would know I was suicidal or depressed, because, pretty girl, pretty face, privileged, living in suburbs at the time. Why would people assume that I could buy anything I want? I had new cars, I had a lot of money, like I would shop all the time. But that was to fill a void within myself from all the abuse. So I had a new car and this and that and dated multiple people, but I was empty. Like I felt nothing. Like I felt like, kind of like a chocolate ball. You looking for the toy inside, you buy that, and then
Yeah.
you
Oh,
thing
yeah.
inside, you open it up. I don't know, but I just really wanted to embrace the fact that how deep that is to say, like, um, it is so hard. Like for people who I guess haven't lived, the kind of life we had. Some people are given, their souls are given. I can't even say we could say and compare to someone else's life that it's ours is more meaningful. Like we can't even say that. But hardship wise, there are people in this world that experience more hardship. I remember one time I went to a business event, and someone on stage whose event it was sharing something about how they were bullied because of pimples. Okay.
Mm,
And then here's me having gone through like 12 different severe traumas, from sexual abuse, molestation, and other things that don't need to be named, but yet someone's talking about their story about pimples and bullying. So to me, I did laugh at the event. I did, because to me, it was silly and funny almost that that's a big deal to somebody, and yet here I am. I don't
Mhm.
know how I'm alive, and somebody's crying about pimples. It just kind of
Yeah, no, I
it just blew
understand.
my mind. Yeah, it blew my mind because everyone has their own measurements of that, but I just thought it was a mockery of that's not a that doesn't have enough substance for me. I need it to be deeper. I can't relate to that. I don't know why someone's crying. I thought that was a little funny to me because
Yeah,
crying about pimples and bullying, there's people who have been through like that's not really a story to me. I need more. But that's just who I am. And I'm not
no.
afraid to say that though. And I just can't relate to something surface level like that, you
Now,
know?
see, I can definitely understand that, right? And like you said, the healing comes in,
Yeah.
um, and you have to do the work. And once I figured, like, I had to figure this thing out. I didn't have anyone to come and say, hey, this is what I did. I mean, I had seasonal people that came and shared their
Mm,
experiences with me, and I just watch them, right? And just watch what they were doing and how they were living life, and watching their demeanor, you know, just everything, the characteristics of how they just move. And I was taking it in because I know nothing from nothing, right? And I'm not afraid to admit that. I was afraid. You know, I was afraid of what I was going to do to myself. Wasn't afraid of dying.
yeah.
That fear left a long time ago. Wasn't afraid of dying. I was afraid of what I was going to do to myself.
Mm,
So this was my way of watching them. It was my way of saying, if they did it, then I can do it too. But how did they do it? And I didn't have the courage to ask them because, going through, a lot of horrible things,
mhm.
you don't want to bring it up because you don't know how they're going to react to it. So you kind of, like for me, I was quiet. I was like, watch you. I'm gonna take this in. And then I'm off on my own because I was always a loner, just wandering, trying to figure it out. You know, didn't want to, I mean, my last thought was before the thought of suicide came in, let's go off into the mountains. Let's find a cave somewhere and let's just disappear, right?
Yeah.
That way, and this is my mindset. Again, men and women are different, but we have
Yeah.
similarities as well, right?
Oh,
And
yeah. That's why I went overseas because I wanted to go to the edge of the world. Like, I wanna
yeah,
isolate myself.
I
Yeah.
wanted to isolate. I was like, if I don't let anyone around me,
Mhm.
you can no longer take from me and hurt me
Mm.
because at that point in my life, I was like, the next person that hurts me, they don't know what I'm going to do to them. And I think I was more afraid of that than
Mm.
anything else. So I said, to keep everybody safe,
Mhm.
I think it's better if I'm not around. And that was my thought. Like, let's just go somewhere and disappear. No one knows, you know. And you can find somewhere, right? We
Mhm.
wandered around enough. It's not like being lost. What I'm saying? It's just go somewhere. No one cares about what you're going through, Tony. But that's what I said. No one cares about what you're going through. Look at you. You have no family. It's just you. Why give people the opportunity? Let's just go. And it changed. It changed. The more and more I wanted to run,
Mhm.
people started coming back in and keeping me back, keeping me grounded along the path, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I thank those people that were seasonal. I really do. I really thank them because of what they gave me and what they took from me, right?
Mhm.
And some of them wasn't the best. I appreciate them too,
Mm.
because even the things that they tried to do to me or the things that they did do to me, I realized it was for my benefit because just like yourself, I'm not a very religious person, but I do believe in God. I just have a hard time with the religion.
Mm-hmm.
So, and at that time, I was arguing with God. I was so upset with him. I wanted to walk away from him so bad, so bad. I was like,
Yeah.
my thing was is that, God, why would you do this to me? I was obedient to you. Everything that you asked, I did without question. And you hurt me like this. And the voice
Exactly.
came back and he said, "Oh, you thought it was about you." I said, "Wait, hold on. Don't you start this. Don't you start this." He was like, "Oh no, let me just show you something. Because since you thought that this was about you, let me just put you up
Wow.
on me, Tony." He goes, "Remember this incident right here?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Did you think that was about you too?" I was like, "Yeah, did you not see what they did to me? Man, they just shot me 22 times, had me in the hospital. I had to lose my daughter. They took my daughter and took her somewhere and told me not to even be a part of it. I had to lose my home. I had to lose a place over my head. I ended up going to jail again." It's like, yeah, but had you not experienced that, the dude that came behind that you was able to guide out of the direction of being in the gangs, did you think you was able to do that? Well, what about this when I was 6? And you know what I'm saying, I was molested. He goes, "Oh, you thought that was about you too, huh?" I was like, "Well, yeah, look what he did to me." He's like, "Had you not experienced that, do you think you would have been able to talk to that young man about his experiences and be able to give him the strength to inspire him to go out and do something different?" I said, "Man, shit, man. What do you mean? Don't you be talking to me like this, man?" Right? And so I was arguing with him. And as the conversation went on, he goes, "See, the thing is that you had a perception that I had something against you."
Wow.
I said, "Well, yeah, it feels like it." You know what I'm saying? He goes, "No, what you didn't understand is that the thing inside of you, it needed it needed to mature enough before it presented itself to you.
Mm.
You had to experience all of these things because it's part of the gift.
Mm.
The gift. What do you mean? You mean there's a person who goes, yeah, it's wrapped up inside of that body that you got there and it's coming out. So I want to show you something." And so we did all of this. Could we just went about this another way? He's like, "No." If you went about it another way, would you had appreciated the journey? I said, "Man, forget you." Forget you, God. But I can sit back now, just like yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and I can appreciate just like the conversation that we have right now, being able to talk back and forth about our experiences, to be able to share on such a intimate level, you know what I'm saying, of understanding,
Hmm.
right? And I can say I appreciate everything that has ever happened to me. It
Wow.
gave me the strength to say, I refuse to leave this world
Mm.
without leaving something behind, right? And it took me a long time to get past the fear of that because I'm an introvert, right? God said, "I need you to do this." I said, "No, no, I ain't talking to nobody, man. Look, people gonna say they gonna judge me and all." It's like, yeah, of course they're gonna judge you. They're gonna talk down to you, drag you through the mud some more. I said, "Oh," he goes, "But it's nothing you've never been through. So what you afraid of?" I said, "You know what? Forget you. Forget you. I'm not doing it." That was another argument in itself. And I look back just like yourself now. The
Mm-hmm.
person I was then is not the person that you see in front of you. And I told someone before I got into doing this work,
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Man, something inside of me just wouldn't give up." I said, "I'm destined to be a success story. I'm
That's
destined
right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what it was like. It was like, okay. He was like, but what do you know what success look like? I was like, I don't know, but I got these motivational speakers right here. They know what success look like. I'm going to listen to them. I'm going to study them. I'm going to make them my silent mentors. They don't know me from Adam, but I'm going to listen to them. I'm going to take what they say. I'm going to apply it from this day forth in my life because they did it. I want to figure out how they did it so I can do it too. And maybe I can teach the next person that's coming up behind me to take what I'm doing and be better than
Yeah.
me. You understand what I'm saying? Like, and so that's what your story inspires me, because you are out there doing it. You're traveling the world. You're helping so many people. You've dealt with your mental health. You've done the healing. You've done the work. And I'm looking at, I see you on Facebook, with your child.
Yay! So
Oh, yeah,
popular.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I watch all of that and I watch how people interact. I watch how you interact with everyone. You're also a part of my Global Grief Network group as well.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I see what you're doing there and I just sit back because there's nothing to me that's more beautiful than to see people, individuals,
Mm-hmm.
stepping into themselves and claiming what's rightfully theirs. And
That's
you, my friend, you are doing exactly that. And that's I
right.
want the people who are listening right now to listen to what she's saying, man. And if you have dreams, goals, and aspirations, you know, um, she's a good example to follow, especially if you've gone through something. Listen to her story. It's freaking amazing, man. And I've had the privilege of getting to know her. And she's introduced me to several people as well. And I can tell you, she never ceases to amaze me whenever we talk.
Oh,
Yeah, well,
yes.
I mean, you're intelligent, right?
Thank you.
And you have a curious personality where, what I'm saying, you let yourself go there. And I see the things that you do and I see the people that you interact with and I see the excitement that comes over you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a different sort of feeling, right? You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? When the people that are around you inspire you and you get excited because you're like, oh my God, did you not see what you did? Because we talked about your one friend in Greek
Yeah.
and you're like, when he was down here, I start all right. I'm going to see him, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
told me how you were sitting down in the front, you know what I'm saying, with your camera recording him. You
Mm-hmm.
doggone and what did you say? Yeah, anytime one of my friends come down here, I'm definitely going to go see him. A lot of people don't understand where that comes from. You've allowed yourself to build amazing relationships,
Yes.
become an entrepreneur, right? You know what I'm saying? To go out there and not let the world handcuff you to a bar.
No.
Yeah. So yeah, again, that's inspiring. That's true strength right there. And what I'm saying, I want other people to be inspired like that because there's nothing more sexier than watching a person become successful
Thank
and
you.
encouraging other people. That's to me, that's sexy, right?
Yeah.
Excuse my language, but it is though.
No, no need
It's
to
like, hey,
excuse. I just never heard it said that way. But yeah, why not say it?
yeah,
You know,
yeah. Um,
good for you.
let's talk about how you got into suicide prevention. I know you've had your own battle with
Oh
your
yeah.
thoughts, and you know,
Mhm.
so let's talk about that for a minute.
I'm a self-inspired person, so most of my certifications and studies I do on my own. Like I pay out of pocket and take courses just on my own, and I'm always studying and taking courses and advancing my resume as well, and just my knowledge. So I got certified through QPR, and I did different certifications from youth suicide prevention to psychosis, being a gatekeeper for suicide prevention, like learning the training on what to say and how to say for individuals who may be suicidal and how to assess them. So that's where my training came from. Reading a lot. I read every day. I read a book. Um, um, Doesn't mean I finished the book that day, but I'm always reading and I'm always watching content about things I want to learn about from like narcissism will be Dr. Ramani. Suicide prevention, I do have a few friends in suicide prevention. And the one thing is, we all can be this way. I feel like, yes, training is important, but I feel like when it comes to anything, like I'm knowledgeable about different things that I don't have a degree in because I'm self-taught. Like I say, I'm self-inspired, like I can teach myself. There's a lot of people in the world who didn't have the opportunity to go to school or other things, but it doesn't mean that they don't know what the same person would know who has a degree. So when it comes to suicide prevention, I feel like I grew when it comes to that topic because before it was just very surface level for me. Now it's more spiritual. And I don't know if I mentioned this with you, but I like to ask my friends now who advocate for suicide prevention about if they feel it's someone's soul journey. Like in spirituality and Hinduism, I learned from some gurus that, like Sadhguru, I have here his book actually. It's called Death. Excuse something foul. but
Oh, I
but
love that dude, Sagru. Oh
yeah,
my God.
the
Yeah,
book's
I
for
love that dude.
all those who shall die. So I have over probably 200 books, but I counted 100 the other day. But the point is, you don't even have to, I feel, necessary. I do have friends who don't read and still are great coaches and great people and still have knowledge. I
Mhm.
feel like there is no one answer to all. But what I was saying when it comes to the soul and suicide, before I met with my shaman in Georgia and met with a spiritual lady at the sound bath event I went to there, I didn't have the mindfulness to know that there could be other reasons of why the soul leaves through suicide. And in Hinduism, like Sadhguru advocates and like states that the soul never is at peace when you leave through suicide because you ended your life journey early. Yet at the same time, it's also said that when you leave and how you leave, it's written too. So I'm still learning more about these things. Um, this book I received at an event I went to, Journey of
Ooh.
the Soul. So I'm like reading a bit of what resonates and learning more about my own roots, which is Hinduism. And Hinduism is the first religion in the world, despite what anybody says, because I to comparative religion. And also when you do your research, you learn that I'm not somebody who just listens to the opinion or social media posts. I actually do my own research because it's easy to just learn through those things. But when you can think for yourself and have your own opinion, not just follow the crowd, I feel like that's important. But yeah, I overall, to sum it up, it's a bit long winded, but when it comes to suicide, I used to believe that to prevent suicide in the sense of saving lives, but who am I to say that that's what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, for example, trying to help my mom who has schizophrenia, but she doesn't want the help. Like, it's her soul journey that maybe she is supposed to suffer through that. That's her karma. I don't know, right? We have to detach from thinking that we can save everybody and stop everything because what's for somebody is what's for them. And what if you're stopping what was for them? I know it sounds very maybe contradicting, but the thing is, I feel like in this Western world, especially, a lot of people want to advocate for, breast cancer awareness and all these things, but don't really have the education or spiritual knowledge behind what does it actually mean. Like, for example, I learned through a spiritual book club I'm part of. It's called The Consciousness Cultivator by Michelle Bunting. And she's here in Jersey, and it's a free Zoom call every week. And it was my first call, and it's a spiritual book called Seth Speaks. But someone mentioned on there that a family member of theirs has dementia, and like as if their life isn't worth living, right? And like, why would somebody want to live like a vegetable or live with dementia and doesn't remember? But the thing is, in spirituality, actually having dementia and remembering those childhood memories and talking about like as if, they were five again or whatever is actually the soul's way of soothing itself and a smooth transition to leave this planet. So it's kind of educating yourself that people may view schizophrenics when they can have 3D and great imagination and hallucinations as something creative, like how people view our autistic kids as creative. You never hear people really talk bad about autism. They say, oh, it's a different ability. Well, the same with schizophrenia or dementia or anything else. But people just put these labels on it, especially in America, but don't know anything more other than treating it with medication, quote unquote. But really, psychiatrists don't have the answer in the world at all about the brain. There is no answer. So my sum up is for you to just keep educating yourself, even when it comes to suicide prevention. Yes, you can share and, you can inspire somebody and you can do what you can. But at the end of the day, you have to let things be. And this may sound whatever. I don't know. This may sound to somebody like as if, I don't care, or maybe someone doesn't care. No, it has to do with not attaching yourself to someone else's life, to leaving their journey be their journey. And that's why Try Together, my brand, it's one journey at a time. And the hardest part, I want to say, to sum all this up, is the acceptance that yes, my mom is diagnosed with that and I can do nothing about it. As in, she's choosing her path and I have to accept that's the reality in this realm. So I feel like that's the hardest part. And that's what I feel like people need to do with suicide prevention, instead of live in their sorrow and dwell on what's past, or what they can't stop, for them to live for themselves and focus on themselves. So that's my whole sum up.
No, I love it. I definitely love it, man. I love that that you reading the book on Seguro death. Like I said, I'm a huge fan. I'm definitely a huge fan. And I had a friend of mine reach out to me, send me this book. It's Comfort for the Day, Living Through the Seasons of Grief. And he's a good friend of mine. And we've just started connecting. His name is Steve Nicola. So if you're out there, pick up the book. A lot of great information in there, especially if you're trying to figure out tools and stuff, to help you in your grief journey. There's a lot of great things in there. I'll probably end up having him on the show as well. Now, speaking of shows, you have a podcast yourself.
Yeah, I actually did my first live stream after 1 year.
Oh,
that was fascinating. Yeah, with my friend Herbie Mack, who's a suicide prevention specialist. And Herbie's a good friend of mine. He's also a speaker for NAMI recently, the National Alliance for Mental Illness. So I actually was a part of NAMI as well, but I was doing my own thing. The thing is, it's a journey, like I say, and it can feel long and hard, but what's meant for you and what you're supposed to do will always find its way. So you can pause and take a break. And the world, has told me, like, when am I coming out with my book? When am I doing this? And they missed the show, or this, that, and the third. And the thing is, it's okay to quiet down. It's okay to go on a silent retreat and turn off your phone for days. And
yes,
when you're a content creator, it doesn't mean that I'm on call for anybody. It's my soul I'm on call for. So I do everything at a slow pace, actually, believe it or not. And I take really good care of myself. And I feel like these 4 years that I've been in the game of being at multiple events, summits, seeing multiple webinars, knowing all these people from millionaires to not, they sell you the FOMO, and I never take part in it. The fear of missing out. You're never missing out. No coach, no mentor, no one can ever tell me, no one can ever tell me that I need to hurry up and buy this, or, I'm not doing enough, or all these things, because Try Together didn't start on anyone's accolade or anyone's validation. It started just with my decision. Anything that I do will only happen because my decision. And that's it. So if I want to do the show, I will do it. And if I want to publish my book sooner than a later age, I will do it. But I'm not going to move to anybody's cater to anybody's needs really in that nature. And I think that's where I learned about boundaries and asserting myself and becoming a powerful voice.
Nice. I think Les Brown said it best. To sum it up, what you was just saying. He
Yeah.
goes, when you're walking with a person, something happens. You either adjust to their pace, they adjust to yours. So he posed the question, you know,
Mhm.
whose pace are you adjusting to? I love the fact that you found your pace and you refuse to adjust to anyone else's.
No.
That's that right there. That right there sums it up right there. So what's next? What's next for you? What's coming down the pipe?
Yes. So now I'm coaching women. It's women who need to be aligned, like who have trouble aligning themselves, like they're
Mhm.
looking at how they can do things that align with them more. And this is not something surface level. This is something that people that I know, I've been having conversations with them about this, women. And the other thing is my background in domestic violence prevention. So a lot of women that I come to know through social media, they're in those situations as well. And I'm choosing women because actually I never thought that that will be my focus. It's kind of something that's unveiled itself to me. And I asked God that I actually texted you. I had asked God
Yes,
for
yes, you
a
did.
sign. And I don't think I ever told you, but that day God brought to me 3 women. Um, like right after I was in the car, I said, God, show me my truth, show me who I need to be working with and what I need to be doing. These 3 questions I literally asked out loud as I was driving my car. I got out my car and 3 women came to me asking me for directions. I ended up coaching them about their life. Fascinating. Anyway, and they had come from New York. So, and I gave them a ride back to the train so they could go to New York. It was a mother and 2 daughters from Brooklyn. So, point being, right before I asked God, and God showed me 3 women as soon as I got out that car who came up to me. I took that as a sign and I said, all right, that's what I'm going to be doing. And so I've stepped into it. And my calendar for this month is booked. And I was doing complimentary sessions and just taking my pace. I'm doing 1 client a week and
Mhm.
that's it. And after that, I'm going to be charging for my services again. So it's something I wanted to ease into and more so for me to at first get a feel of what's the clientele I want to work with and what is it exactly I want to do, because I could do many things. It's everyone's versatile. I feel like we're all creative beings. So
Yes.
really making a radical decision and coming to terms with this is what I'm sticking to at this time, and later if I change, I change. And yeah, I don't know, I feel great.
And
Like, I feel great. Like, I'm just so blessed. Like, it's it feels like a miracle. And like Seth Guru says, miracles are things that the human mind can't comprehend. So,
there you go. There you go. Well,
yay! Ow!
that is truly amazing. I know, right? That is truly amazing, man. Truly, truly amazing. I am so
Thank you.
blessed that we have met, we've connected, we're going to stay connected.
Yeah.
So
Cool. Thank
if
you.
where can people find you?
You can actually email me. I need to redo my website. You can email me. It's my first and last name here, pratibhaday01@gmail.com. You can find me just my name on Google, Chai Together, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, you can add me on Facebook. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And subscribe to my YouTube if you want to see more of my face.
What's your YouTube channel?
Chai Together.
Chat together. I'm
Yeah.
subscribed to it. People go check her out. She got a lot of great content on there.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
yeah, of course. I told you. We support each other. This is what we do.
All
You
is
know,
well.
all is well. We're here to support each other to make sure that
This
we're
was
lifting
great.
each other up and speaking life over one another. But most of all, we're here to learn from each other, right?
This was great.
Yeah, this has been amazing. So I
Yeah.
always end the show with I ask the guests if you had something that you can give the audience,
Hmm.
what would you give them? What would you say to them?
Yes, I would leave them with my words that, and I always say this, and I always say that I say this at the end, but I highly suggest that you don't take your own life just because of the harm others did to you. to cut your life short and not see what could have been. I feel like suicide's a permanent decision. So it's really important for you to know that there is no coming back from that and kind of just let that resonate. So I always tell people, don't kill yourself because of somebody else.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. And I want to say thank you. Thank you for such an amazing conversation, sharing your journey, the knowledge that you have, the brilliance that you brought to it, and everything. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being on today. And for those who have tuned in today or will be tuning in later on and everything, guys, reach out to her, find her, check out her stuff and check out her YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Just support those. Let's support her and help grow her channel. And if you've made it this far, you guys know what to do. Give me a subscribe, support the channel, hit that bell notification to be notified any and every time that we drop another live. You don't want to miss these things. Like I said, we are your number one podcast for grief talk, and we're normalizing. We're bringing the heat, and we've got bringing so many amazing guests to you. So, you guys, I am Tony. I'm your host, as always. And you guys know where to find me. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram. As always, thank you for allowing us to keep bringing these amazing conversations to you and supporting us the way that you guys do. You guys are amazing. And until next time, keep your head up. And just remember, suicide is not the answer. The crisis hotline 988. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to struggle alone. We have so many amazing people. So, yes, you guys stay safe. Happy October 13th. We love you. Peace.